Hello, and welcome to another edition of Coffee Talk with immigration attorney Brian D. Lerner. As some of you might have heard, immigration is getting a bit tougher, and the Trump administration is trying to do everything they can to make it tougher, but that doesn't mean there is still not all kinds of ways of fighting the unconstitutionality of what's going on and doing what's necessary in order to protect your rights. So, first, there was what's called the Rodriguez bond hearing. Okay. And basically, if you were in detention for 6 months, then at least the Ninth Circuit ordered that you were supposed to receive a bond hearing to determine essentially if you're a danger to society, and if you are, then you would be released. And so many times what people would do is get their final order of removal, wait 6 months, do the Rodriguez bond hearing, and then be released. So it went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and just recently, very recently, the Supreme Court basically said there is no statutory exception for doing a mandatory bond hearing after 6 months, and therefore that is not entitled as a matter of right under the statutes for people who are in detention. So at first, when you hear of this case, you're thinking it's just unbelievable that they would permit some foreign national to be detained for months and for years without any right at all to be bonded out. However, when reading the decision a little more carefully and seeing what exactly they ordered, it's not as gray as it might seem. There are definitely ways that the decision has left in order to proceed forward. So, first, the decision did say there was no statutory right of bond after 6 months, but it also remanded the case to the circuit courts of appeal in order to determine whether a lengthy detention such as this violates the Constitution, violates your due process under different provisions of the Constitution. And so that's where that stands right now, that the circuit court has to decide whether or not, regardless of a statutory interpretation of when they thought that there needed to be a bond hearing, that in fact, whether or not it violates one's due process to essentially be in detention month after month, year after year, without any hope of being bonded out. Now, that obviously will take time to receive that decision, and hopefully it will be positive as far as the foreign nationals are concerned. However, in the present, as of right now, if you have been, or somebody you know has been detained for a long time, and essentially now they can't get a Rodriguez bond hearing, it is entirely doable and possible, and even recommended, to do a habeas corpus in federal court. And the habeas corpus, for all intents' sakes, basically says that the constitutional rights of this person being detained are being violated, and that the executive branch, which that's the branch that's basically detaining them, is unlawfully detaining this person, and that the habeas corpus should be granted so this person can be released from detention. And while it's not as easy, certainly, as doing a Rodriguez bond hearing in front of the immigration judge, it certainly is preferable in many instances, especially today, to be in front of a federal judge arguing the constitutionality of indefinite detention, because unless you come from a different country, that's just not really accepted in the United States. And there are very good arguments that could be made that an indefinite detention does violate due process, among other constitutional violations, and that there would be a decent chance of winning the habeas corpus. Additionally, if lawyers all over the U.S. start filing habeas corpuses in federal court because of the unlawful detention and the fact that there are no more Rodriguez bond hearings, then eventually what's going to happen is the U.S. attorneys are going to say, look, internally, they'll say, we don't really want to fight all these because it's just using all our resources. So, they'll see that the person has very minimal criminal history or doesn't have enough criminal history to show that they'll be a danger to society, and will agree and stipulate to allow them to be released without the habeas corpus going all the way through the system and getting an actual order from the judge. So, if you're in such a position or know someone in such a position, give me a call. I'll be happy to give a consultation, let you know what can be done. If you like the video, put a thumbs up, and more on the coming weeks. Thank you.